If you walk around in this world thinking that men hate women or are looking to take advantage of women, you are going to miss out on some of the greatest joys in life. We are going to be taking today this male privilege test, which I want to make sure that I have this context for you. It was created by a cartoonist, a left-wing cartoonist, Barry Deutsch. And what's most important is it's since been used by the National Organization for Men Against Sexism, Product Humanity from Arizona State University, Diversity and Social Justice at California State University, and the University of Western Australia, along with other prominent organizations. So, at one point, you would think this was a joke quiz. Like back in the early days of the internet, you'd be like, is Mr. World first name E-Bomb at the helm of this? Or perhaps .com first name break? Like you would think that this was a joke. This is an actual privilege test, a male privilege checklist, actually, that we are all going to take together. I guess these aren't really questions. These are just things that you have to check, right?
Okay. Just imagine there's a little check checking your privilege.
So we'll go through this. Number one, my odds of being hired for a job when competing against female applicants are probably skewed in my favor. The more prestigious the job, the larger the odds are skewed. Your thoughts, Half Asian Bill?
Yes, they are. And that is because I'm better than you.
Not
it
just
has
women.
Nothing to do
Everyone.
with anything else.
Really? Okay.
That's superiority.
But against female applicants? Against all applicants, really?
I am better than the ladies and the men.
You're better than all the above.
Yep.
How about Gerald?
And I don't know. Being a Som, I guess,
Just to be clear, by the way, they already do dominate jobs in the humanities, and though there aren't as many in the STEM fields, they're actually twice as likely to be hired.
Can I critique
twice as likely as comparably qualified men to be hired in STEM, simply because there's a push for women in these fields. So that's the one area where you could say there's a disproportionate number of men, but actually women are twice as likely to be hired. They just don't want to do those jobs. Number three, if I am never promoted, and I want you guys to take this, by the way, this is the Barry Deutsch. We'll have the link. I think we have the box right now up here with a link and a link underneath in the description. You should all take this because this just goes to show you, this is very much, you know what it is? It's like psychics. It's the BS from psychics. I'm seeing that you have a relative. Is it John? Is it Jake? It's like, I did have a Jasper.
Blonde hair.
You're so close.
This can apply to everyone. And this is designed to make you think that everybody out there, not only applicants, not only employees, but everyone doing the hiring, everyone in the legislative branch, or the legislative blanchette, depending, overrated. I prefer Naomi Watts. The point is, executive, judicial, legislative, employees, employers, this test is designed to, no matter how you answer, everyone is sexist.
Yes.
Number three, if I am never promoted, it's not because of my sex. That's audio Wade, you're persnickety when it comes to grammar. That's a double negative. How do I answer that?
At least two negatives, yeah. So if I am never promoted, it's not because of my sex. So
I'm not comfortable calling it unbullshit.
Check.
It's not sort of asking the questions like, could this be appropriate in this realm? Because sometimes there are realms where you're going, you know what? Women tend to perform better in these fields of work. Whether it's working with children, for example. Women are more trustworthy. Women are less likely to harm a child. I will say this, here at this office, when we have people who work abroad, we've had better luck with women being self-starters. And on the flip side, we've had better luck with men sort of being in the pocket in high-pressure scenarios, being comfortable. That being said, not all women, not all men, but we've definitely had better luck with women sort of being self-leaders. And I take that into account.
It's a question of percentages versus individuals, right? If you take the statistical summaries of an entire populace and then you say this defines the individual, you have a problem. That's what racists do. Racists say, I'm going to take this entire stereotype and I'm going to say it applies to every individual regardless of their circumstance. But that's what this test is doing. It's saying, I'm going to apply this stereotype to every single employee and employer regardless of what they actually do.
And it's oversimplification.
Yes, it would be like saying because coronavirus was part of some plot in a bioweapons chemical facility in Beijing, I need to execute Half Asian Bill every time he has the sniffles.
Pretty much.
Agreed.
6, if I do the same task as a woman and if the measurement is at all subjective, chances are people will think I did a better job. No, absolutely not. I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't.
I think sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But that being said, particularly in the realm of comedy, so I'm talking about what I know in the realm of entertainment, there are far lower standards for women in comedy. Let me explain what I mean with this. There are some very funny women out there. Samantha Bee, yes. There's some very funny women out there. One of my favorite comedians ever is Kathleen Madigan. I think she's very funny. Far left. I think she's, you would say maybe she's really more of a Rust Belt Democrat. But she's a well-known Democrat, toured with Louis Black. I think she's very funny. That being said, a lot of the times people will say, well, if you watch, used to be Premium Blend on Comedy Central, any sort of showcase comedy set, they'll say, really, for every 8 men, there are 2 women, or there are 4 women. They want it to be 50-50. Here's the thing. If you go to an open mic, or if you go to a city, anywhere in the country right now, and you look at the comedy show, you'll probably see 10% of the comedians entering into comedy are women. Let's call it 25 on the high end. But if it's 25%, that's the total talent pool, and you are making them 50% of the representatives in the comedy world. Right. You, just like in STEM fields, are more likely to advance women in comedy to prove that women are funny. And what does that do? That undercuts women who are really actually funny out there. Right. Exactly. Why does Samantha Bee have a show and someone like Kathleen Madigan doesn't? It's like we're throwing Lily Tomlin, Kathleen Madigan, and what's the name? Michelle Wolf in the same. Under the same umbrella.
Oh, yeah, it should just be really if you're funny or not. That's it. It should. Can you do the job that people are asking you to do? And if you can, fantastic. If you can't, I'm sorry. Go get more training. Go. Do other shows and get funnier.
Number 7. If I'm a teen or adult, it was a catchy nickname.
I know.
Didn't stick. And if I can stay out of prison, my odds of being raped are relatively low. That's not a fair question.
Relatively.
Why don't we include prison? Why don't we include prison? Because it makes the numbers higher. You're like, well, that's not. Well, the guys being raped in prison aren't big fans of it.
Yeah, no.
Why aren't they?
They'd like a vote.
Some might. I don't know.
And
so let's include the prison rapes.
There you go.
I never thought I would be saying that. Like, I want you to include prison rape. I'm just saying in this test to be
the sole reason it wasn't
They specifically
included.
Took it out.
Everyone got really quiet.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
Prison rape. 8. On average, I am taught to fear walking alone. I am taught to fear walking alone after dark in average public spaces much less than my female counterparts are. Interesting you should bring that up because men are robbed far more often than women.
Yeah, and I think they are. If you're weaker, like if you're a small guy, you have maybe a little bit higher chance of being picked on in an average public place. If you're a big guy like me or you walking, we probably have a less of a chance. It's because the other guy can't kick our ass. Right. Sorry. If you're a female with a gun, you're probably walking pretty confident.
Right.
Number 9. If I choose not to have children, my masculinity will not be called into question. I don't feel like that question has a sexual premise at all. Or a gender-based premise at all.
No, that being said, I will tell you what does. If a woman is unable to conceive, typically speaking, women her friends are very supportive, very sympathetic. Yeah. If a man is firing blanks, you just get mocked mercilessly.
Mercilessly, yes. We don't like each other a lot.
It's true. We don't treat each other very well.
No, we really don't.
So I don't really know if this is all that relevant.
Here's the other question. Who is it that's calling women's femininity into question if they don't want to have kids? Is it men?
Well, I think it's like the social construct. Yeah, it's other women that would ask the question more.
Like it's mothers, it's grandmothers, it's aunts.
If I have children but do not provide primary care for them, my masculinity will not be called into question. Do you mean legally alimony laws? You dick? What are we talking about?
We're talking about our women.
Can we talk about question structure?
These aren't questions, man.
Whatever they are, can we talk about the freaking structure?
I guarantee you that if we were to say the question structure is a byproduct of the patriarchy, we could get Barry Deutsch to apologize.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are patriarchal questions.
You know what I really want to know is what does Barry Deutsch know about the woman's experience anyways?
Yes.
Can we show Barry?
He's been both.
Barry.
There he is. Look at there. Yeah.
Is that really him?
At least one of them.
No, that's him?
That's him. It's like that fish. The fish.
Yeah. I have to retract my tirade. I'm so sorry, Barry is a woman.
Number 13, if I seek political office, my relationship with my children or who I hire to take care of them, a little bit of a reference to number 12, will probably not be scrutinized by the press. Do you mean like President Donald Trump's relationship with his son, with his daughter?
Yeah, it's a BS question.
I mean, what are we talking about here? It's remarkable.
It's equal on this one.
When I ask to see the person in charge, odds are I will face a person of my own sex. The higher up in the organization the person is, it depends. Am I shopping
not
at
true.
Talbot's?
Or Williams-Sonoma, your favorite place.
It's all.
Well, hold on. By the
men.
way,
everywhere at every. When I go with my wife when we go shopping, every store it's just men everywhere.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Every-
every
No, that's not
manager.
true.
All of the men who are managers, they're named Karen. As a child, I, as a man, was encouraged to be more active. and
Okay, I'm an
outgoing
idiot.
That's why
than my sisters.
But
saying, are
sisters, but
girls
you could also
not
be a girl and have
Look,
sisters.
Look, here's
this
the
is for men
problem.
now.
Every
Tell me,
single
Mr. Bitters.
every single one of these questions is saying, okay, are there some people in the world who are bags and decide that they're going to raise
That's
their
question 32. We haven't got-
sisters
we
haven't
and
gotten that.
daughters
Yeah.
to not be active and outgoing. And now you're
Right.
going to take that and say every single male has that privilege because they were told to be active and outgoing, regardless of whether they had sisters. And even if their sisters were encouraged to do that, it doesn't matter because we're just going to take this stereotype and just run it all over the world.
So I'll put you down as a maybe.
Yes, thank you. I never cheated off of any men.
No.
It was only women.
Only women,
AP
yeah.
Physics, AP Bio, I didn't cheat anything.
Oh my
out.
God, I feel so sorry for your classmates because I
Terrible.
guarantee they were cheating off you.
Yeah.
I know. The
You're
guys
not one
would
of
be
those
like,
Asians.
"Hey, Bill, you didn't write anything. Are you like waiting to the end? Do you like have all the answers in your head?" And I was like, "No."
I'm waiting for
The
inspiration.
girl I cheated off of, I've told the story on air before several times. I cheated off her in physical science my entire year. Because I didn't understand the teacher. He had a weird accent. And I just didn't do very well. And so I was just cheating off her. And then we had a standardized government exam at the end of the year
Ruh-roh.
where now your teacher was no longer in charge of your grades. And so she told me, she's like, yep, okay, I'll help you. I'll let you read off my test. We're in the middle of the exam. I'm like, hey, psst, Sarah, can you just move your shoulder? She sat right in front of me. I want
Yeah.
to look over her shoulder. And she just turns back. She goes, no, Steven, I'm not going to help you. You should have studied. And I was like, what? I swear to you, I'm going to ruin your life. I am going to destroy you. I was so furious, but I had no recourse. I'm like, Sarah, tilt over your shoulder. Tilt over your shoulder. Tilt over your fucking shoulder. I swear to you, I had no leverage.
I'm the one that robbed.
You just kept escalating your empty threats.
And I knew I was totally wrong. I was like, this is a bad feeling. I don't want to do this again, but I did. If my day, week, or year is going badly, number 19, I need not ask of each negative episode or situation whether or not it has sexist overtones. I'm not doing this one because it's written poorly. I'm going to chalk that one up to
I'm
the
going to read the
patriarchy.
next one.
Okay.
Imagine the kind of person who would have put something like this together. Everything that happens in the world is just another story to add into their victimhood. I mean, their entire story is if there are two men on the cover of the New York Times who are dead bodies, where are the women?
Well,
I don't. I mean, everything
picture.
can
Yeah.
I
be
hate
victimhood.
I hate to refute what you're saying, but let's bring up
refute
that
it.
picture
Yeah,
again. Yeah. Look, I mean, come on,
Yeah.
that guy is swimming in it.
Well, I don't. It could be a
That
woman.
guy.
Comic book guy for sure.
I'm not sure the gender.
Comic book guy.
Hold on.
He looks like he
Yeah,
crawled.
he does look like
Simpsons.
comic book.
He
guy
does.
from
He does look like a guy.
Simpsons.
It's not
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
He looks like remember Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze? Of
course.
He looks like he's the ooze.
He
played the Ooze character.
He's the inverted
played by-
photo.
Not. Yeah.
No, Gerald.
I mean, you know what's crazy about this? That's actually a good point that you bring up. Real housewives.
Yeah.
Are there any real house husbands?
No.
Real stay-at-home.
I think we call those
stay-at-home
douchebags.
Real stay-at-home dads of Poughkeepsie. Someone just throwing some Jägermeister. Get out of here! It's like, what is this? There are plenty of there are plenty of women only gyms.
Write that sketch.
There are plenty of women only shows. But anytime guys have a guy only, it almost is non-existent.
you
It
can't.
cannot be allowed. And I tell you
Right.
what, I think that it's a good thing for women to have women only spaces
Right.
sometimes, and guys to have guy only spaces sometimes. And that being said,
Yeah.
there is an imbalance right now where what can you think of that is a male only space? Exclusively.
Country club locker.
Now, I know most people say like a cigar lounge. A cigar lounge I go to is really like 35% women, surprising amount.
Yeah.
But I can't go to Curves. What is there that's the
You can't.
equivalent
Yeah.
for men right now?
I mean, I think the other question is like, who cares, right? Like,
If I'm careless with my driving, it won't be attributed to my sex.
Well,
Here's the
just
thing, actually.
my
Men
race.
have to pay way more for car insurance.
Right. True.
At least during their teen years, right?
Yeah.
because they're more
Yeah,
reckless.
overlay.
I think. Yeah.
Teens and 20s because they're more risk-taking.
Yeah.
That being said, I have a theory about that. Yes, I think that men typically, in my experience, are
Insurance
more
rates.
comfortable with... Well, here's the thing. All of us have wives.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. If you are in the car, you're both in the car, neither one of you
Yeah.
has some kind of a disability, who drives?
I tend to.
I tend to.
Yeah.
Depends on the car. I drive my car. She drives hers.
Okay. I tend to.
I
Do
do.
you tend to? Is it
I
split?
tend to drive both.
I do
tend to
because
drive.
I like
There's
serving.
more likelihood that you will accrue an accident if you're driving all the time. And that being said, women don't get particularly I do not believe for 1 second this statistic that teenage girls are less risky than boys driving. You know why? Because we see a teenage girl and that glow of the Android against their face, and we are going 3 lanes.
Yes.
3 wide.
It's like parting the
White
Red
bird.
Sea.
Wide.
Yeah.
Number 24. Even if I sleep with a lot of women, there is no chance I will be seriously labeled a slut.
Well, 'cause it's a
Nor is
gendered
there any
word.
male counterpart to slut bashing. Yes, there is.
there
called,
is.
It's called being a boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Barry. Barry.
Well, that's for gays.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No?
Nope.
Yeah, it's for both. Yeah.
It's for
Well, I've heard the
everybody.
term. So there was a term "cad," and generally
right.
speaking, like you'll just see like a guy like, oh, he's a
what a
douche.
kid.
He's a douche.
Douche is what I would call
Like when women say this is kind of more, this is indicative of a bigger problem. They say the term is loaded here, slut. But we don't call guys sluts, just so we don't typically. Well, I will say,
Man whore.
in hip hop they call men bitches. That's kind of a new
That's
thing. But
true,
for the
yeah.
longest time, you don't call a guy a bitch. But women aren't typically called ass.
Right.
Yeah.
Women aren't called pricks. It's just there are different insults for different people, just like the racial epithets, and they're all fun. They're all the colors of the rainbow.
Well, and as
So
a,
don't limit yourself to just one.
well, a point that you made before, for a woman to have sex, all she has to do is go out and say yes. It's not like you're high-fiving. There's no achievement there. There's nothing that you've actually done. And I'm not saying you should do it, but if a guy is trying to do that, he has a much higher chance of failure than a woman does.
kind
if
of
she's going out
impressive.
doing
If
it.
every worker bee was high-fiving the queen bee after another worker
Exactly.
bee went up, it would just be nonstop.
High fives.
She would have no more handlers.
Yeah, that's handlers.
I didn't know if it was a hand or antler, so I
Handler.
just said handler.
When, you just split
Yeah.
the difference.
I don't know.
If I buy a new car, chances are I'll be offered a better price than a woman buying the same car. BS. Do you not, do you
My
not have a
wife's
cell
gotten
phone?
a better deal than I have.
Do you not have a cell phone where you shop it and go, oh, here's like the best price that I can get down the street? Okay, I'll give it to you. I mean, what world are these guys living in still?
Not only that,
Hold on.
Hold on.
Again, this goes back
Bill
to
might
the
be drunk.
clothes and the capital markets, okay? Women are choosing not to be confrontational. My wife and I went
Right.
to a
They may
dealer
not negotiate as good,
not
yeah.
far from here, and I said, let me do the negotiating. And she said, okay. And while we were sitting there, as a negotiating technique, I ordered Uber Eats. And the food came, and at one moment I said, hold on. And I walked out, got my Firehouse subs, walked back in and started eating it and said, you have until I finish the sandwich to come back to her with a better offer. And she literally in front of the guy goes, just we'll pay. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And so now
undercutting you.
is that not to say, no, I mean, I don't care about the undercutting part, but
Undercutting
no,
you.
you must have given
Gerald,
her, did you give her?
can't beat my wife, okay?
No, but you can.
No, but
Give her a fresh one.
But my point,
Go in there, give her a shot.
I gave her a sandwich too.
Okay.
So the
terrible.
point was is that for whatever reason she didn't feel comfortable to push back and like get a better deal, and
Yeah.
I felt more than comfortable doing that or playing a game of negotiating a car. Now that's not to say that maybe during the course of growing up that there weren't people who discouraged her from doing that. Whether it was a man or a woman, though, I don't know.
Right.
Because I see a lot of women discouraging other women from being forward or being.
My wife is
aggressive.
fantastic at this.
So,
She is
By the
great
way,
negotiating.
my wife-
I too
She always gets
refer
good
to my
deals.
left hook as a sandwich. But that being said,
Have you seen
my
me
wife
punch?
has gotten more free coffees.
Yeah.
That I can. She would just be like, "Oh yeah, well I came back from Starbucks and they didn't charge." I go, "What? You didn't pay?" I gave her a 10. She comes
What?
back with a 10. Back when I used to have cash, this was like Reagan was president
20 years ago.
and I was a fetus.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, she goes, "Oh, the guy didn't charge me." I go, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, it happens all the time." I go, "Well, that's not common." She goes, "What? It's not common?" No, it's a place that
not
sells
common at all.
coffee. They generally
Yeah.
charge you for
If
coffee.
they don't sell you that coffee, they're not doing anything.
He's like, "Well, why would he do that?" Because he wants to have sex with you.
I'm not conventionally attractive. The disadvantages are relatively small and easy to ignore. I've never called that my disadvantage before, but
I don't think it's that. Come
was
on,
a-
you're a good-looking enough guy.
No, no, no,
Listen,
that guy.
it depends on who's
That was a
taking
dick joke.
it depends on who's taking this test.
Yeah.
If it's like. If it's Kate Bosworth and Clint Howard, you're going to skew the bell curve.
Yeah.
sure.
I
this
imagine
guy-
Barry writing this question crying onto the notepad. If I'm not conventionally attractive.
He looks like, bring him
Sorry.
back up. He looks like Where the Wild Things Are if the guy weren't allowed to sleep in the big pile.
They shaved one of the guys down a little bit. Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it for this guy, but I'm just saying he did it to himself.
33. My ability to make important decisions and my capability in general will never be questioned depending on what time of the month it is. Well, listen, that's just because we need to know when to cut a white swath.
Yeah, that's for safety.
That's out of concern for you as much as ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's also one that, by the way, is used both sides. I don't think that men in the workplace are like, it's that time of the month. I've never had that happen, but I have had women be like, "I'm sorry," when they've treated someone really poorly. Go, "I'm sorry, I'm on my period," and we're just like, "Oh yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay."
Yeah.
Okay.
that happens. Doesn't happen to us.
I've only heard it referenced by women.
Yeah.
That's it.
By the way,
100%.
did you know that women don't have to go through that? My wife.
Periods?
Yes, you can take birth control your entire life.
Yeah, but not if they want to have children.
Yes, you
Science
can
time.
because
That's
we're
Gerald
pregnant.
Day.
Hormones.
So you can
I
stop.
don't know. I don't even want to get into this. Next one. Every major religion in the world is led primarily by people of my own sex. Even God in most major religions is pictured as male.
I love
Here we
this
go.
one. I
The
love
ultimate
Because
patriarchy.
God is male.
I love this one. I love this one. Hey, I just want you to be very clear. Everyone out there looking right in the camera. If you are religious, you're a sexist.
Yes,
That's
true.
it. That's the end. That's the end.
true.
That's the end of the question.
If I have a wife or living girlfriend, chances are we'll divide up household chores so that she does most of the labor.
What?
In particular,
What?
the most repetitive and unrewarding tasks.
Oh, what the hell are you talking
Wait,
about
what does this
here?
even mean?
It means that you give your wife the shit work to do.
And more of it, yeah. Now, a lot of times, a lot of relationships, the wife may take on more of those responsibilities because she likes it better that way.
and
Sometimes,
who's-
I don't, you know.
Well, if
Are you
the
both
wife
working,
is
or are you
if the
working?
Well,
whoever
that's
stays at
different.
home
Network.
should be doing the bulk of household
Right,
chores. By
yeah.
the way, and I don't know if you know this, but women's burden of household chores have gone down significantly since the 50s, as well as their personal happiness. Not saying that there's necessarily a causation there, but I'm saying this idea that women not having to do household chores should suddenly free them and allow them to be happier. That's not true.
Didn't really
Also,
work out.
let's see how you all like taking out the trash.
41. Assuming I am heterosexual, magazines, billboards, television, movies, pornography, and virtually all of media is filled with images of scantily clad women intended to appeal to me sexually. Such images of men exist, but are rare. I love how he loaded the
Rare.
back into the question. He's like, by the way, they do exist, but they're rare.
Hey,
they're rare, except
this
for
is-
Amber's Cast.
Tell that to the
Marvel.
Folsom Street Fair.
He said assuming heterosexuality.
Why do we do that? Just
I
like
don't know.
eliminating prison rape?
I know,
Well,
just
then
by
Captain America.
He wants the answer, and he's going to get the
Totally
answer
gay.
that he wants.
I do think that the underlying request here of this question is that there are more pictures of scantily clad men.
Barry.
Like, is that what Barry's asking for?
I think so.
He's asking
I think
for it.
so. Just like
You know what? And hold on a second. He included a P.O. box. What the
He's saying there are scantily clad women out there.
Barry.
With men, like you see men like Gucci or Armani
Right.
are shirtless. That being said,
Yeah.
there are no sexual glands, organs, or signals there. In other words, when we talk
Right.
about we talk about sort of the bioevolutionary mechanisms, right? When a man looks at a woman who's in a bikini, what does he see? He sees breasts. Those feed those feed babies. Those are
Yeah.
important. He sees birthing hips, right? The one thing that would actually nipples on a man are inconsequential. It's
They
almost
are,
like
yeah.
they're basically a mistake. Just why the guy
Vestigial.
from One Direction has 3 of them.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they look, and unless we have, I mean, put it this way: the equivalent would be, you see in all the sports. Is it Sports Illustrated where they do the body
Yeah.
paint that looks like a swimsuit?
Yeah.
Is that
It is.
Sports Illustrated?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
Sports
talking about?
Illustrated. Yeah.
They have the body
Yeah,
paint, and
yeah.
you look, and you're like, oh, it's really painted. Imagine if I just walked around and I painted my balls like a bumblebee. And I was like, no, this is just a bumblebee thunder down
art.
under sock. And then someone's like, wait, those are actually testicles painted like a bumblebee. Yeah, no one will be rushing out to get that magazine. In general, I am under much less pressure to be thin than my female counterparts are. If I am fat, I probably suffer fewer social and economic consequences for being fat. Can we bring back up? Yeah, wishful thinking.
Next question.
This is the first question in the it's like, and if I'm fat,
Okay.
If, you know.
Sexual harassment on the street virtually never happens to me. I do not need to plot my movements through public space in order to avoid being sexually harassed or to mitigate sexual harassment. No, but a panda can wish.
It happens to me all
I will
the
say
time.
this: I think that women are obviously more likely to be sexually harassed. Now we
Yes.
need to differentiate between even when the women put these videos online that said I was catcalled, and some of the men were saying you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I don't think that's sexual harassment.
Right.
It's
mild.
If every unwanted advancement is sexual harassment, then we would have no couples.
That's right.
Because sooner or later, a man has to take a risk saying, you have a beautiful smile, or I love the way your hair looks, or wow, you're beautiful. Now, someone saying, hey, come on over here. Of course, that's completely outside of the realm of propriety. That being said, most men want to kick those men's asses.
Yes.
We're not fans of it either.
Right.
Number 47, the last one.
Curb stomp.
I have, and this is the one.
I love it.
Number 47
Oh, come on.
from Barry Deutsch. I have the privilege of being unaware. Can we bring this up?
Bring it up.
Unaware of my male privilege. Yes, you are.
Thank you, Barry.
Blissfully unaware. of your
I
male
gotta
privilege.
ask, what kind of selfish chauvinist writes an article like this?
Yeah. He
tell
should have
you
given it to
exactly
a
who.
woman.
I can just see him sitting on his bed weeping because of all his male privilege.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know where his weird anamorphic amoebic body ends and the tears begin.
Right, yeah.
It would all just end up in a pool of ooze and pudding. Here's one thing I will say.
Poor guy.
Men are wicked. This is something that I think is important, okay? We can talk about patriarchy, but I want to leave on this note. And this is what's so toxic with this, is that it presumes that men are looking to take advantage of, exploit, or you know what, overall that we hate women. I will tell you this. This is a point that you brought up earlier where you're talking about women mistreating other women.
Yeah.
I was talking about my wife who was called women like, oh, she's such a shrew, someone who's mean and gossipy and catty. Men as a general, now there are exceptions, guys who beat their wives, of course, just like there are exceptions of women who have crack babies, right, who don't take care of their children. That being said, men, typically speaking, every man in this room is looking to love women. Right? They're looking to enjoy the company of women. That's why we work so hard at trying to find a woman. That's why we're willing to take the risk of facing public embarrassment by going to speak to a strange woman. And women don't typically do that with men because we desire women at a very deep, and I mean spiritual, emotional, physical level. That being said, women often are looking to compete with other women. Men tend to treat women better than a lot of women treat women, just as women, not feminists, women tend to treat men better than most men treat other men. I think there's this ill-conceived notion that men, all of a sudden, we get behind closed doors without women, and we're just, everything is hunky-dory, we're nice with each other, we're plotting on how we can take advantage of women, when the truth is, most men go into the workforce, right? They go to their place of work. It is an absolute pride-swallowing siege. They work with guys they don't like. They're constantly being knocked around. People are giving each other a hard time, and they want to come home into the warm embrace and the solace of their wife because that is their favorite person. If you walk around in this world thinking that men hate women or are looking to take advantage of women, you are going to miss out on some of the greatest joys in life, namely the differences between men and women and why we desire each other to complete one another. It's a beautiful thing. And instead, you've turned it into a pile of your face, Barry Deutsch. You've turned it into something as ugly as you. Ouch. Shame on you, but you are still cordially invited onto this show. No, your screen's not frozen. This is one of those moving pictures. Talkies? See that? Okay. There's a video playing somewhere in a box. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you are subscribed, because subscriptions don't mean a whole lot. But we really do love having you on this channel. And I hope you enjoyed this Bernie video, because I know he didn't. And I can still live with myself. It didn't freeze. It's still me. Okay, click one of the things.